Hey guys, these days I really think about what does it mean to be delusional in society. We're all curating our own personal experiences when we interact with the world. We as a matter of survival have to accept that we are the only characters in our story as individuals. At the beginning, at least. Because humans are a social species. But at the same time, usually, we don't die with other people in the casket, do we? You have to contend with your own mortality. And I think the fact that we could contemplate our own mortality is one big driving reason that we are a social species. But we're the only species on this entire planet that pays to live here. No other species of animal, please, if you can find me a species of animal that pays to live here next to humans, they should be paying tax as well. We're so advanced that a piece of paper and some shiny rocks are enough reason to kick somebody out, deprive them of food and water and all the essentials that we need, probably even throw them in jail because they don't have those pieces of paper and shiny rocks. Money is a good enough reason to destroy your family and your friendships. It is. It takes a true psychopath to really earn $1 billion and say that it's not enough. It truly takes a psychopath to even earn $10 million and say that it's not enough. You know, depending on where you live, especially in a modernized country, a while back, like this was a long time ago, almost 10 years, I think. Let's say 5 to 10 years ago, the added up costs of raising a child from birth till the age of 18 was roughly $1 million in like Australia, US, all these, let's say the Anglosphere, right? I don't know how it is in other European countries. Probably would be about that, or like probably maybe $200,000 less, but still roughly the same. For you to raise up that child from an infant to 18 in a moderately decent way would take no less. We can at least say it takes no less than $500,000. No less than that. Factoring in the school fees, the medical costs, the recreational activities, food, and they're not actually paying into the system until they're of working age, usually, right? That's with everything in consideration. So what happens when you don't have that money to raise up those children? What happens when those children are born into a state of poverty? And a lot of children are. They become scapegoats. They become the reasons as to why grown men and grown women hate their lives, because they decided to bring another life into this planet and they weren't ready for it. They weren't they weren't even ready to mature themselves, but they were mature enough to reproduce and cause burden onto another soul and then blame them for their own misery. And all the while, that child is being bred and rather groomed to inherit a dysfunctional society, a dysfunctional system. They have to make money by any means. Where I'm from, people literally make money and their parents don't ask them any questions. Because parents think as long as you get paid, as long as you got a roof over your head, as long as you're eating, that's all they care about, right? You don't know who your kid is scamming. You don't know who your kid is robbing. You don't know if they're doing all kinds of underhanded shit till they turn up dead. And then it's, oh, we didn't know. You were fine enough to get all the remittances and all the extra money they'd send you every month, right? But you didn't know what they were doing or what they were getting into, and blah, 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 blah. But they were doing exactly what you groomed them to do in this fucking reality. Do everything they can to secure those pieces of paper and those shiny metal rocks. They did it. They did it to the wrong person in the wrong way, and they got ended. And don't think that just because you're living in a developed country that it doesn't happen. It does. They don't do it outright in that sense, but if you step on the wrong toes, you can absolutely end up with going back and forth in the courtroom and being denied bail just because you decided to challenge a corporation. It's to a point where even if you try and stand up for what's right, you'll get martyred for the most ungrateful population you've ever seen. Even if you have this undying sense of duty, the people you're doing it for will just spit it back in your face. Look at all the people who have leaked secrets, whistleblowers, all of them. They're constantly jumping from country to country, city to city, moving around, making sure they don't stay in one place too long or they'll get found. And yet the people who they've literally put their lives on the line for continue to perpetuate the stupidity they were trying to expose. And why? For some pieces of paper to go buy the new iPhone, to go to some overpriced restaurant, to buy the the in-season fashion trends. And all the way through, they still try and differentiate between legitimate and illegitimate sources of money, instead of questioning the existence of that money itself. I'm not advocating for anybody to do any type of anything to transgress another person for monetary gain. Absolutely not. Of course not. I just find it funny how arbitrary it is. If you know that people are going to go to this length to secure the money that you say they have to secure, otherwise they'll end up starving and on the street and naked, how can you then say these are the acceptable things the ways in how you should make it, and these are the unacceptable ways. Why have it in the fucking first place? Like, isn't that the most... sometimes I think I'm insane the way I see things, right? Instead of saying, would you follow your friend off a cliff? I'd be asking, why the fuck would I even have a friend like that in the first place? I'm being led off a cliff by a friend? Bold of you to think I even have friends to begin with. And yet money is the reason why you will push your child out by age 18 or 19 to go and be a good wage slave. I personally believe the reason why our generation, the millennial generation in particular, is so hated before they even knew what Gen Z existed. I personally think the reason why we were so hated, still are now, is because of our refusal to participate in the consumerism of previous generations. They were a lot more consumerist than we were, believe it or not. Believe it or not. Television commercials, late night infomercials, fucking magazines, billboards, TV, everywhere you go, they were pushing some product that they had to buy. And I think in particular, the reason why we're hated is because we don't buy diamonds. We don't fall into that bullshit that they literally pushed it. They pushed the propaganda around diamonds so heavily. But it's not like people wouldn't buy it. There's just no fucking money to do it. Who the fuck is gonna buy a freaking $500,000 tiny ass rock? For what? And in particular, it's the men, because they were pushing this to the men because the men were the main income earners. So now, because a lot of men aren't buying these diamonds anymore, they're not going into debt to fucking buy all these stupid shits, they have galvanized the media to shame them back into their place in any way possible. They have galvanized this media to blame us for not having the money that our grandfathers and our fathers had to buy whatever frivolous bullshit that popped into their fucking faces. Not to say that my father or my grandfather had that kind of money, no. But that's the generation that were born, the boomers, right? This is the generation they were brought into. You could literally sustain a household on one income and still buy all this frivolous bullshit. Our generation, for all its bullshit faults, and there are a lot of them, and I'm definitely going to talk about them. If we say we don't like something and we're not going to stick around, we mean it. We will be like, yo, this isn't good for my mental health, I'm out. and they mean it. Right? We are now supposed to inherit the hatred and all these bitter feelings from our parents' generation for them not realizing that they were even more consumeristic than we are. We didn't fuck up this economy when we were shitting in our diapers, did we? We didn't fucking cause these recessions. You did. With your fucking spending. With your fucking housing bubble bullshit. With your fucking credit cards. It was you. How the hell are you gonna blame us for not being good wage slaves? And the same wages haven't even increased in like 40 fucking years. All over the world, by the way. And now we've somehow betrayed civilization or betrayed our ancestors. Fuck you. Fuck my ancestors. Fuck your ancestors. What the hell told them that I would want to inherit this bullshit? I didn't tell them that shit. I didn't exist. And now, You have to argue with your parents all the time about when you're going to get a job, or when you're going to get married, when are you going to have kids, when are you going to, when are you going to, I don't know, buy them shit? I don't know. Especially as a man, you just have to be a good fucking wage slave, as the best possible wage slave you can be. You can be an absolute asshole to anyone and everyone around you, but if you're good at making money, you will be celebrated in society. There's a lot of rich men who go back home to nothing. They might have a wife, they might have a kids, but they go back home to nothing. They're just there for the aesthetic. The wife knows that for sure, but do the kids? Probably. And in fact, kids are pretty smart. They can catch on to that kind of stuff early on. A lot of rich people are just that, rich. They're not people, they're rich. It's all well and good for them to keep up with the aesthetic of what's that phrase people normally say? They'd rather cry in a Lamborghini, I guess, than be happy in like a slum or something. And that should tell you a lot about how they think. That's what happens when you atomize a society to how efficient it could possibly be at producing profit and revenue and increasing GDP per capita. You get people who will backstab each other at any point, any single point they see fit, just to get some sort of monetary gain, some sort of social currency. Yes. Just some sort of, they're already in a fucking ditch. If they can drag you down that ditch and somehow step on you and pull themselves out, they'll do it. And we don't see anything wrong with propagating this bullshit to the next generation? Really? I do. I hope you do too. I've been gaining a lot of subscribers over the past few days, and I'm not sure how many of them are bots. So if you're an actual human being and you've actually listened this far, please just leave a comment. Just drop an emoji. Just drop a fire emoji, a 100 emoji, just anything, Just let me know that I'm not talking to bots, please. See you guys.